Live from Upper Left USA, this is Caleb Brown with Unleashed Entertainment. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Are you a small business owner in Seattle who was impacted by COVID-19? The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing $8 million to connect small businesses to operating capital. The Small Business Capital Access Program will lower the cost of Washington State Small Business Flex Fund loans by paying down 25% of the loan principal. Eligible small businesses can borrow up to $150,000 with a 4% interest rate to cover expenses like payroll, rent, utilities, and supplies.
Join Rainier Avenue Radio from 5 to midnight for Sunday evening sound sessions. Jazz from the Cabinets from Big Poppy.
That's right. It's time once again for Jazz from the Cabinets with Big Poppy.
Sergio LaCour's Love Line.
It's Sergio's Love Lines with Sergio LaCour. Go to the phone line. Tell her who we talking to.
Sage Prince and Just My Opinion.
This is Sage, and that's just about going to do it for the first half of Just My Opinion.
K-Fox Night Beat with Nasty Ness Rodriguez.
It's the beat of the Fox. K-Fox Night Beat, Nasty Ness.
You know what? You're going to listen from 5 to midnight. Just turn it on and don't stop. DJ Alibaba. The Underground Surround Sound Star Time with Paul
Thanks
Pearson.
for tuning in. My name is Paul Pearson.
Sunday evening sound
Star
sessions on Rainier Avenue Radio. Trust me, you'll be listening the entire time from 5 to midnight. Sunday evening, your sound session on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Yo, what's good? It's D-Money, and you should definitely check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, 9 to 11 Pacific, right on Rainier Avenue Radio.
With pint-sized Patron, P. Treasy the Don. Y'all be sure to clean your mirrors as we play brand new hip-hop and R&B from locals and worldwide.
It's ID Yourself, a.k.a. Malcolm Flex. Make sure you check out Fresh Juice every Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time from 9 to 11 p.m.
And to get those exclusive interviews that we be doing.
Sipping a brand new fresh juice every single week.
Yeah. Every Wednesday, 9 to 11, Rainier Avenue Radio.
Yeah.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
All right, welcome to another edition with me, Dupe, Monday Night Sports right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Missed you last week. We had a replay show, but we are here live right now in the palatial studios of the DuPree household. All right. Anyway, hope you're doing, a couple of things I want to talk about tonight, and I want to highlight some things, but obviously NBA playoffs getting into full gear. So want to talk a little bit about that and give you my take on the play-in and what the NBA should do. And what's the reason for the play-in? Really started during the pandemic and trying to make up some games that were missed. It's all about revenue. I mean, they'll throw out some other things, but it's all about revenue. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Also, I don't know if you saw Kyrie Irving, and I don't mean to pick on the guy, but there's so much there. He gives me all this. Now, undoubtedly, I mean, just a phenomenal talent. So don't get me wrong. I mean, there's no question. Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal talent. But the challenge I have with Kyrie is that he needs to grow up. He needs to mature. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then also, since we were off last week, didn't get a chance to talk about Tiger Woods' return to competitive golf after that horrific accident where, I mean, not only initially, you were worried about, okay, will he live? And then secondly, will he lose a leg? Then third, okay, will he be able to walk and then, compete? And we saw him, with his son, obviously, and getting back into things. But it's a gruel. It's a grind when you talk about 4 consecutive rounds. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't want to highlight that. But, Tiger being the competitor that he is, he said, hey, I want to continue to compete at a high level. And for the first round, I mean, he was in contention. But, I think even the second round, but then, third and fourth round, was tough. So we'll talk more about that as well. Anyway, with that said, if you want to chime in, I think you can. Danny, what are the ways? I'm sorry, I should know this. What are the ways people can chime if they want to ask a question or make a comment? They can hit us up on thank you, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Just type in a comment if there's anybody out there listening and watching, and let me know what you think about these topics. But first off, I want to talk about the NBA and the playoff system. So 30 teams in the NBA, and historically you've had the top 8 teams from each conference making it into the playoffs. One plays 8, 2 plays 7, and so on and so forth. A couple of years ago, the pandemic, obviously the season was shortened to try to recoup some of the revenue. Did the play-in, and people seem to like it. But at the end of the day, and they can say, okay, it's going to try to make things more competitive, so teams aren't tanking, so this, that, and the other. It's all about money. Bottom line, it's all about money. You see some of the highlights there. It's about revenue. And so my thing is this: if you want to make the regular season be more meaningful, B, if you want to make sure teams aren't tanking, and then thirdly, revenue, it is what it is, but you look at the amount of money they're bringing in. And here's my thing is that if they can pay guys, guys are making, just ridiculous amounts of money. And I do not have an issue with the players making the amount of money that they make. Let me tell you why. Number one, the wear and tear on your body. You have a window. If you're lucky as a professional athlete, depending on the sport, when you get upwards of your late 20s, early 30s, you're done. You start to go downhill. And the teams, the franchises, what have you, they're not loyal to the player. They just aren't. It's a business. And if they can get somebody that's younger and doesn't cost as much, they're going to do that. They're going to do that. So, revenue obviously is a huge issue, and you got to make sure that you got money coming in. I get that. I get that. But as you take a look at it, so a couple of things. One, I say shorten the regular season. It's too long. It's grueling. Okay, it's too long. Shorten the regular season. Okay, now how do you recoup the revenue? Because that's the bottom line. How do you recoup the revenue? Well, you have a longer playoff, and you include more teams. Okay, the play-in, and granted, you got some teams that I think this year were 14, 15 games below 500. But you know what? At the end of the day, you want to make the regular season more meaningful, and teams, really valuing that, and then the playoffs more meaningful. You expand that. And so now you have playoff games that are going to recoup some of those regular season games that have been lost. And so the revenue stream should be the same, actually probably more, as the playoffs. But now teams aren't tanking because teams know, okay, I got a chance to make the playoffs. The other thing you got to do though is with the draft. So right now the way the draft is set up is you don't make the playoffs. And what is it? I think it's 8, 16, 30. So what is that? 14. So 14 teams don't make the playoffs. And excluding the play-in and what have you. 14 teams that don't make. So then you have the lottery, among those teams. Well, guess what? So to make that even more, that being the draft, include everybody in the lottery. Okay, don't exclude those teams that made the playoffs. Okay, now obviously they're not going to have as many balls in the that are what is in the ball that are possibilities of being drawn, but have everybody included in that, because now what that does, if you tank it and you say, okay, we're going to get in the lottery, well, your chances now are reduced if everybody's included in that. And you say, well, wait a minute, Rick, that's not fair, because these teams that are really good have a chance. Yeah, they do. Far less chance. The percentage of them getting the ball drawn is far fewer, but they may. But what it does is it reduces the opportunity for those teams. So now, you're where your philosophy may be, and people think, okay, man, that they're tanking it. It's not, it's not important, and what have you. Well, guess what? Your chances are not as good, and so I think that's one way to offset that. And it would be interesting to see how that will play out. Will the NBA ever do it? I doubt it. They're not going to do anything that is common sense, that makes sense. But, I'm not a huge fan of the play-in, but I do think, again, shorten the season, because a couple things you do with shortening the season. number one, hopefully your guys are fresher, your playoffs are getting more competitive. Not that they aren't already, but you really have, people are shooting for that, because that's what they say now. I mean, you're playing the regular season really for the playoffs. And that's what, they talked about the Lakers. The Lakers were built for the playoffs, but guess what? They didn't make the playoffs. You got to make it there, and injuries and other things, and you just didn't gel. But you look at it, guys. I love, Russell Westbrook, his competitiveness and what have you, but he's a guy he's got to have the ball in his hands, and you have to be able to get to a point. Melo, is a guy who's a shooter. I don't know what else he brings, for you. So you got to have, guys that can adjust and play a different type of game as they get older and as their game changes. And in a situation like that, I mean, Lakers are old, and you rely on those older players. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with LA. And unfortunately, coach always takes he takes it, but hey, it is what it is. So, again, what I'm saying, the NBA, not a big fan of the play-in, but shorten the season, expand the playoffs, and then have less of an incentive for those teams that don't make the playoffs as far as the lottery, the draft lottery, and make that more competitive. And so now you have teams they're not just saying, okay, we're going to tank it because we got, guarantee we're going to get a top 5, or top 3 or whatever, whatever it is. I mean, you may not get anything. So, you need to be playing and playing to win. So it'd be interesting to see if that would change anything. But again, I am certainly not confident any of that will happen. Hey, it is what it is. Okay, still staying with the NBA, Kyrie Irving. I have been critical of Kyrie Irving, another guy who deserves equal criticism in my mind is for Philadelphia, Thibault, who went to UW, and guys that are not vaccinated. But that's not why I'm on Kyrie, right now. But again, talking about Thibault for just a second, you got they being Philadelphia playing Toronto. Well, you got to be vaccinated to go into Canada, and so they don't have him for their road games. I mean, and the mandate was lifted obviously in New York, and that's allowing Kyrie now to play in home games as well as away games. And Toronto's only Canadian team. Brooklyn, if they get past Boston, they ain't got to worry about that. But Kyrie, I don't know if you saw it. So going back to Boston, we're going to show the video in just a second. Kyrie, fans are on him, and fans are fans. Fans are on him, but he, well, you know what, Daniel, let's play just the video, not the interview. Play the video so you guys take a look, and then we'll talk about it. Go ahead. I think it has some audio. Go ahead and go full screen with it.
Gets it back from Claxton. Shot clock at 4. Irving fires away. Got it! A two-pointer for Kyrie Irving.
And I think he might have saluted them with a hand signal right there.
Ooh, didn't see that.
Yeah, just a hello.
If I'm out off and I'm trapping in this situation, I got him in the corner, nowhere to go. This is good defense, a better offense. Knockdown shot in the corner, and then little hello to everybody in the building. Kyrie Irving, 21 points after this sensational shot. He's been hearing it from the crowd. Who knows some of the stuff he's been hearing. And after this one, this was such a beautiful shot. Turns, and the middle finger salute to one of the fans. He'll get fined for that.
So there it is, Kyrie flipping the fans, giving them the bird. And we'll listen to his explanation in a minute. Bottom line is this, man, you got to be above that. And I get it, I mean, and fans, fans, and a majority of the fans, if not, well, I'll say majority. Now there might be one or two, but a majority of fans have never played at a high competitive level, certainly not at that level, the NBA level, the best in the world. They don't get it. They don't understand what it's like. Then you throw on the fact that they're cheering on their home team. He left, Boston was there. He left. Okay, now you're upset, just like Cleveland, how they were burning LeBron jerseys and what have you, and then welcomed him back, and he came back and won a title for him, or led them to a title. Let's just say he didn't do it by himself. but fans are going to be fans. I mean, that's it. And now throw on, add on to the mix that they're there, they're drinking, they're all of that. Okay, it's not an excuse by any stretch of the imagination. But the reality is fans are going to be fans, and the bottom line is you got to ignore that stuff. I mean, you just do. You just do. And to me, again, it shows another level of Kyrie's immaturity. He's got to grow up. And you can throw out the excuse, well, where I'm from, this, that, and yeah, okay, whatever, dude, whatever. I mean, man, and his play speaks for itself. Like I said, he is one of the, his ball handling skills and shit, he is one of the elite talent. Man, just let your game do the talking. You ain't gotta worry about the fans. Ignore it, because it kind of, I think there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about, as you show love and kindness to your enemy, it kind of heaps coals of fire on them, so to speak. So it's like, just ignore that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's listen. I want you to hear what he had to say about it, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about it. But here's Kyrie kind of explaining why he did what he did, which was flip give the middle finger, flipping the fans with the bird.
Look, I mean, I'm just where I'm from. I'm used to all these antics and people being close nearby. It's nothing new when I come into this building, what it's going to be like, but it's the same energy they have for me, and I'm going to have the same energy for them. And it's not every fan. I don't want to attack every fan, every Boston fan, but, when people start yelling pussy and bitch and fuck you and all this stuff, it's but so much you can take as a competitor. And, we're the ones expected to be docile and be humble and take a humble approach. Nah, fuck that. It's the playoffs. This is what it is. I know what to expect in here, and it's the same energy I'm giving back to them. It is what it is. I'm not really focused on it. It's fun. You know what I'm saying? And like again, where I'm from, I've dealt with so much. So coming in here, you relish it as a competitor. And this is, I'm going to keep repeating myself when I say again, but this isn't my first time in TD Garden. So what you guys saw and what you guys think is as entertainment, or the fans think is entertainment, all is fair in competition. So if somebody's going to call me out of my name, I'm going to look at them straight in the eye and see if they really bout it. Most of the time, they're not.
Kyrie, to that point, do you feel like the hostility that you get still?
Let's not focus on this. Like, ask me questions about the game. Like, it's not about the fans. The fans aren't playing.
From a basketball standpoint,
yeah.
Do you feel like the hostility you get?
There's no hostility, bro. It's basketball.
When you were flicking some people off, I'd say that's some hostility.
From what? What point? Are you guessing that that's hostility, or like hostility for me is like growing up?
Well, we've never seen that from you this season, where you are running down the floor flicking people off.
This is the first time you actually caught it, because it's a big-time game. I respond in different ways. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to focus on that. If you want to ask me questions about the fans, go ask them. Go on the street and ask them questions. All right?
But I'm asking from your perspective, from a basketball perspective, do you feel like the hostility that you get?
It's not hostility, bro.
So he didn't want to answer the question. I think the bottom line, you talk about where I'm from, this, that, and the other. Man, again, that's not your opponent. Okay, you take Michael Jordan. Yeah, he was a trash talker. Gary Payton, they were trash talkers. That was trying to get your opponent down. That's one thing. You're on the court there. But the fans, I mean, again, you expect, poor behavior from the fan. You really do, especially on the road, and especially if you were in that market and the circumstances weren't ideal when you left, and people perceive it as, you didn't want to be there and what have you. And he made a good point. He said, hey, not all fans, but the bottom line is this. You got to be above that. And that's not saying be docile, take it all. It's just like, that don't even allow that to play a role. And I just think that, again, you talk about maturity and he's got some growing up to do. And part of that, again, I said, with him not wanting to do, regardless of the reasons, not wanting to be vaccinated, that's a selfish move. Now, granted, everybody's got their reasons, and I'm not downplaying that. However, there comes a point where what's in the best interest of the team, of the whole, is the most important. And especially if it's not something that is jeopardizing, again, they'll say, well, it's jeopardizing my, my beliefs and my this, that, and the other. But if it's, come on. And so I think it's just a matter of maturity, and I think it's really, really important. And I meant to pull a clip, and I totally forgot, and I forgot the name of the player because I wanted to kind of juxtapose and talk about. But he's a young player. God, I can't even remember the game, but just recently NBA game, he was ejected from the game, upset, walking out, took his mouthpiece and tried to throw it at a fan that was again being obnoxious toward him. It missed the fan and it hit a young lady. Now immediately, he took responsibility. He took ownership of his actions. In the press conference, said, "Hey, what I did was wrong. If someone can help me find out who that fan was, I apologize to her, and I want to do something for her to make it right." We all get upset. I get that. I get that. But at the end of the day, and again, I'm not, Kyrie talking about, well, they want us to be docile. No, I'm not saying be docile. I'm not saying be a punk, on the street. And again, when you're secure in who you are, you know who you are. Part of my brain, you ain't worried about all that. You ain't worried about all that. And so, I just think that phenomenal talent, has some growing up to do. My opinion. So I don't know what you think about that. If you're listening and want to chime in, you can hit us up on Facebook, on YouTube, Twitch, and let me know what you think about that. Okay, talk about Tiger Woods. And I know this is a week late. The Masters was not this past weekend before last, but we go back, was a little more than a year ago, and Tiger, in that horrific accident. And, again, initially they were like, okay, is he going to live? And then it's his leg and what have you. Go ahead. We're going to take this video. So this, I want to take it with the sound. This is the final putt at the Masters. And just take a listen, watch this, and then we'll come back.
Nick, this was more than a pursuit of a green jacket this week.
Yeah.
This was something really internal.
Well, Tiger wanted to get to Mount Everest, but he definitely got to base camp. I mean, it's phenomenal. For where he, as you described, Jim, for where he was. I've been talking to him this week in the Champions locker room, and I believe he's found gratitude this week. He's so thankful. He could have lost the leg. It was over 50% chance of losing his foot. And his number one motivation was to play with his boy, Charlie, and obviously put this on the calendar to come back to Augusta.
Look at that smile. go back to the video. Let's see, keep it going for just a second. The smile. All right, and what a wonderful moment for Tiger Woods, because again, he you can see there's a slight limp, but to come back, I think it was 16 months, it was February, I think, 14, 15, 16 months, whatever it was, for him to come back and to be able to compete. Day one, he was at 1 under. He was right in. I think he was within 2-3 shots of the lead. Day two, I think he shot 1 or 2 over. I think he finished the day at 1 over, and then the last 2 days were 6 over each day. And that's going to be the key for him. His body has been through so much. Set aside the accident and coming back from that. I mean, he had 4 back surgeries, or maybe because remember he was out at the time of the accident. He was recovering from back. So that may have been the 5th back surgery. I can't remember. So the key for him is going to be, can he go out for 1 round and play and compete at the highest level? Absolutely. Can his body take it? He talked about it, and we're going to go to his interview in just a minute. He talked about, and they talked about it throughout the weekend at the Masters, where he was saying, okay, he was like ice baths and what have you after the rounds, and trying to rejuvenate his body so he could go. So that's going to be the key, is his continued rehab to get the leg healthy again, where it can, and his body can take 4 consecutive rounds, and can he continue? Because when your body's off, I mean, you got to, and golf is a game not of inches, of eighths of an inch, literally. And if you're not striking that ball, what have you, and if your body's off a little bit, you're off. So that's going to be the key for him, and to see if he can compete and win again on the tour. Chances are not great, but that's Tiger Woods, and those are odds he likes, and he likes to defy those odds. let's listen. I want you to listen to it's kind of cut up his interview. And again, what was so cool is that yeah, he always wants to win, but the fact that he got out there and played 4 rounds and did it and showed he can compete at that level, and certainly didn't finish last, but again, by Tiger Woods standards, was not there yet. Go ahead and play that interview with him.
This tournament has meant so much to me and my family. This entire tournament. I mean, I was explaining in there to Cara that you go back to the year I was born was the year that first black man played in the Masters, in Lee Elder. He was an honorary starter last year. He was there when I won in '97. 25 years later, here I am playing again. It's meant a lot to me, and there's no other place there's no other major that we play in the same venue. So St. Andrews is obviously near and dear to my heart because this is the home of golf, and I've been able to win a couple opens there. But we rotate. So, but this is different. This is where all the great champions have ever played. Have walked these grounds. Granted, I don't think they've imagined walking back as far as we have, like on 11. So I think when Bobby Jones originally designed it, it was supposed to be like a links golf course inland where you go from green to tee. But the game has changed, gotten bigger, and there's more walkbacks than ever before. I don't think people really understand. The people who are close to me understand if they've seen it. Some of the players who are close to me have seen it and have seen some of the pictures and the things that I've had to endure, and they appreciate it probably more than anyone else because they know what it takes to do this out here at this level. It's one thing to play, as I said, with my son and a hit and giggle, but it's another thing to play in a major championship, and it's been a tough road, and one that I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to be able to grind through it. A lot of different things could have happened, but 14 months I'm able to tee it up and play in the Masters. For not winning an event, yes, without a doubt. To go from where I was to get to this point. I've had an incredible team that has helped me get to this point. Incredible support from, as I alluded to in the press conference on Tuesday, the amount of texts and FaceTimes and calls I got from players that are close to me throughout this entire time has meant a lot. And then to come here on these grounds and have the patrons, I played in a COVID year, and then I didn't play last year, so. 19 was the last time I experienced, having the patrons like this, and it's just exciting. It's inspiring. It's fun to hear the roars, to hear hole-in-ones. I think Kitchen made one the other day, and hear that roar.
Let's bring it back, Daniel. So
16.
There you have it. I mean, again, just the accomplishment of being there. He talked about that and what it took 14 months, after that accident. So. He says he wants to compete. He's going to continue to rehab, and he wants to compete. And if there's anyone that can defy the odds, I think Tiger Woods is the guy that can do it. All right, let's finish up with a couple quick things. I always like to do day in sports history. 1966 on this date, April 18th. Bill Russell in 1966 was named the head coach of the Boston Celtics, became the first black head coach of an NBA team. The next year, 1967, Rick Barry, remember the bucket free throws, man, he was like 90-something%. Rick Barry scored 55 points as the San Francisco Warriors beat Philadelphia 130-124 in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. In 1985, Tulane University of Boston, 72-year-old basketball program. The reason was charges of fixed games, drug abuse, and payments to players. So they abolished the basketball program at that time. In 87, on this date, Mike Schmidt of the Philadelphia Phillies, he hits his 500th home run with 2 outs in the ninth to rally the Phillies to an 8-6 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1995, Joe Montana retired from the NFL. and two others real quickly. In 2005, defending champion Catherine Nderiba of Kenya became the first woman to win the Boston Marathon for a fourth time. That's pretty incredible. And also in 2005, it was announced that NFL's Monday Night Football, remember with Howard Cosell and all of the guys, would leave ABC and find a new home at that sports network that would take over all sports, ESPN. And the final thing, a quote from Vince Lombardi: winning is not a sometime thing, it's an all-time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. That from the legendary Vince Lombardi. That does it for Monday Night Sports. I'm Duke. Hope you enjoy the show. Lid Line is next. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you next week right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Peace and God bless.